I did it again. By that I mean I have yet another week of just atrocious screen time. The way I have just been like glued to my phone since probably mid-October of last year has been a problem. The last time I came on here and shared my screen time with y'all, I was on my phone for an average of 15 hours and 14 minutes a day. There's 24 hours in the day. I probably only sleep about 5 to 6 of those hours, so that would mean in the amount of time that I am awake during the day, I am on my phone for 80% of it. I do give myself a little bit of grace because I do TikTok full time, so I do a lot of filming, I do a lot of editing, but I also do a bunch of scrolling, and that's an issue. It is Sunday. There is currently the worst thunderstorm ever outside. Like, it is raining so hard, the wind is blowing so hard, and I was like, this would be such a good day to just stay in and read, so why don't I replace my screen time with reading? So let's check our screen time for the week. It is Sunday, meaning a new screen time is available. Let's hope that it's not something just like absolutely insane. I tried to get a little bit better last week at not being on my phone so much, so let's see. So last week's daily average, I was down 8% from the week before, but I had a daily average of 11 hours and 28 minutes on my phone. So still not good, but if we remember the week before that, it was about 15 hours and 14 minutes. I would say that I am doing better about the amount of time I'm spending on my phone. So that means that we are gonna read for 11 hours and 28 minutes today. Let's go through the lineup of the books that I wanna try to get through today. So last night I actually started out on a limb. I read through the first chapter. I have been wanting to read this book for over a year now. I know a lot of people don't like the surprise pregnancy trope, but I actually really like that trope. I think it's fun. So I really wanted to give this book a read. Everybody that I have seen that has read it has rated it pretty high, so I'm hoping that this will get me out of my book slump. Like I said, I read the first chapter last night, and so far it's really fun. It's really cute. Can't wait to see how everything ties together. I also got this new cute little bookmark. It's so cute. I also have Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. I have heard really good things about this. I've only ever read one other Alice Feeney book, which was Rock, Paper, Scissors. And I'm not gonna lie, I was not the biggest fan of Rock, Paper, Scissors. It just wasn't a good read for me personally. I think I rated it like a 3-star or maybe a 3.5. I can't remember the exact rating. Maybe actually a 2.5. I just remember really not liking it, but I've seen so many people say that this one is really good, so we're gonna give it a shot. I cannot do a readathon without having a thriller in there. I am just such a thriller girly that I needed to have the option to be able to read one. And just in case I get into like the first couple of chapters of this and it is just not doing it for me, I also have my Kindle because I read a majority of my thrillers on my Kindle. Kindle Unlimited has such a great selection of thrillers, so if I end up not really loving this one, I might switch over to Don't Believe Him by Monica Aria, because I started that the other day and I really want to read that as well. So we have 2 thriller options here. We'll see which one I go with. And then no matter what, this is gonna be the last book that I pick up, which is Fourth Wing. Obviously, if I were to read this whole thing, that would be the entire video, is just me reading Fourth Wing. I have heard so many things. I've heard a lot of girls say that this is the book that finally got them into fantasy. She is very hefty though, so like I said, this will be the last book that I pick up. But okay, I have my iPad. I am going to start a timer for 11 minutes and, or no, I wish, 11 hours and 28 minutes, and we are gonna get this readathon started. finally starting to come out a little bit. Hold on, let me turn on the big light because I just feel like you can hardly see me. I just made it to chapter 5 in Out on a Limb. The last 2 chapters, y'all, were so spicy, and I am normally not a big spice girl. Like, I will tolerate it, I'll read it. Obviously, if you're going to be a romance reader, there's going to be spice in a lot of them. With the premise of this book being pregnancy, I kind of figured there would be some type of spice in the book, but I actually really enjoyed the way that she wrote her spice. There was like comedy mixed in with it, and so it didn't feel so cringy because there was just so many funny things that were happening. So far, I am loving the main character, Winifred, or she likes to be called Win. I just think that she is so quirky, and I also love how both of the main characters have these disabilities with their bodies. The male main character, he has a prosthetic leg, and then the female main character, from what I've gathered so far, it hasn't really given like the complete background story of her hand situation, but she has like a small hand, so I'm assuming that one of her hands is just like half the size of the other one, is kind of how it's seeming. I love that representation though. Like, I love that people who have prosthetics or have some type of limb abnormality read this and like see themselves represented in it. And I love how it's like not like a huge focal point, like it's a part of their identities, but at the same time, like the whole book is not about that, or at least so far. I'm only 4 chapters in, but I am loving this so far. I'm on page 42 and we still have about 10 hours and 20 minutes left, so I'm gonna get back to it and I will check back in once I reach page 100. Okay, I just reached chapter 18 and we have a little over 8 hours to go. This book so far has just given me like all of the butterflies. Like, it is just so good. The male main character, Beau, he has so much banter that is not like cringy, because sometimes you'll read these books and the male main character is just so cringy, just so cringy, but his banter is like enduring and it seems like a normal person. I'll read books and I'm like, that is not something that a real person would do in real life, but his character just feels so fleshed out, and it's almost like somebody that you would actually know in real life. Like, he just seems normal. I think one of the things that I really love about his character so far is that he has interests outside of trying to like court and get with the female main character. Like, he is a nerd who has hobbies, and we love a man with hobbies. Hobbies and personality. I'm also loving the way that the pregnancy is being done in here, and that it's not just like immediately they're going into let's date. Like, I'm over halfway, no, just about halfway through the book, and they're not even like together. It's more so just like friends, and I'm loving that it didn't take this immediate shift to like these 2 people find out they're expecting a baby together and now they have to date and now they have to get married and all this. Like, I am loving that they are literally just friends. Moving on to chapter 18, I do need a little bit of a break from like reading it with my own eyes, so I'm gonna download the audiobook on Audible and I'm gonna listen to a few chapters on Audible while I color. I just think that it's great to go between the physical copy and doing the audiobook if you want to stay stimulated for longer and read for longer periods of time. I'm a girl who believes the audiobook counts as reading. Okay, you're still consuming the material, so it's still reading, but I'm gonna listen to a couple of chapters on Audible while I finish up this picture that I've been coloring. Okay, pulling the audiobook up on my phone. Let's see how much we can get done on here while we color. I just finished Out on a Limb, and I will say I really enjoyed it. I think overall I give this a 3.75. I really think the story was really cute. I liked how Bo and Win, like their relationship from the jump was just so bantery. So I feel like there was never a point in this book where things felt too heavy, even when the topics were a little bit more serious. Also spice in this book, but I do not feel like the spice takes away from the plot whatsoever. I cannot tell you how many times I've read romance and it's like as soon as the two characters get together for the first time, that is all the story is about, and I hate that so much. It's definitely a very plot heavy book and I really enjoyed it. Honestly, if you're looking for a lighthearted read, I think that this book is pretty lighthearted. There wasn't too much conflict. Like I kept waiting for something big to happen and for the characters to have like this pivotal moment where it just looked like things were not going to work out and they were going to go downhill, and it just felt like it was like a slow steady climb up in their relationship. Like they started out as strangers, then became friends, and then you really don't see like the romantic aspect until like the last 6 or 7 chapters. I really appreciated that. I think that that helped with the plot because we weren't introduced to them as a couple so early on in the book. Because let's just be honest, sometimes when our characters become romantically involved too early on, it's almost like we have to fill in some of those plot holes with spice. Okay, let's just be real here. I really enjoyed it though. I think the prologue and the end was really sweet and a perfect way to wrap up the story. But we have a little less than 5.5 hours left, so I'm gonna move on to book number 2. So I think I decided I'm gonna read Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. I just need a thriller, y'all. I need a thriller. I think a thriller is the fix to my book slump, because Out on a Limb was good, but I still don't feel like I'm out of my book slump yet. I just really hope I like this book better than the last book I read by her, because the last book I read by her was rough. But okay, let's get cozy and let's begin. Oh my gosh, right away the first page says, my name is Amber Reynolds. There are 3 things you should know about me. 1, I'm in a coma. 2, my husband doesn't love me anymore. And 3, sometimes I lie. So what's a lie? Does your husband love you? Are you not in a coma? I'm already intrigued. And Sometimes I Lie, and I won't lie, so far I am not thrilled at all. I'm intrigued and I want to know like what's going on. These days I try not to like assume what the ending's gonna be when it comes to thrillers, because I find that I ruin it for myself when I do that. So I am not trying to guess what the hell's going on. Just a few context clues where I'm like, okay, I know for a fact this is what's happening, because it's just too obvious for it to not be what's going on. And obviously y'all know my rule on thrillers. I do not share anything when it comes to a thriller, because I do feel like you should go in blind. I can say though that there are 3 different timelines in here. So we have now, then, and before. Just from the synopsis, you know that the main character is in a coma, so obviously the now timeline is kind of like the timeline of her being in the coma and what's happening during that time. The then timeline is like a week or 2 prior to the coma. The before timeline is who I'm assuming is the main character as a child, but to me it's not super obvious yet if the before is her or not, so I don't know, it might be somebody else. Yeah, I'm kind of getting that same feeling I had when I read Rock Paper Scissors, where I'm like, I feel like maybe the issue is that this might be more of like a psychological yes, Sometimes I Lie is a brilliant psychological thriller. Maybe I should have read the back of the book first. I don't have anything against psychological thrillers. I love a good psychological thriller, but I also like when it's just a little bit more thrilling. This book kind of reminds me a lot of the setup of The Last Miss Parrish, where The Last Miss Parrish, it is branded as a psychological thriller, but to me it just read as like a drama almost. I don't really know how to describe it. It just didn't have too many elements that were super thrilling. It did have some elements that kept you on this edge of your seat and you were a little bit eerie and you're like, oh my god, what's gonna happen next? But it wasn't like super thrilling. You know what I mean? I think I have such a high standard for thrillers these days because I read Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter, and that was quite literally one of the most disturbing things I have ever read. Now I just look for that book in every book I read, and I need to stop. I need to stop looking for that because not all thrillers are meant to be like that book. But so far, I mean, like I said, I'm on page 100. I'm having a good time, and I do want to know like what's gonna happen next, so I do feel inclined to keep reading. There's like 278 pages in this book, so we're almost at like halfway done. I'm entertained. I will check back in when we get to page 200, and hopefully my feelings about it have changed just a little bit. Okay, but the timer ran out as soon as it was getting juicy. I'm gonna go eat dinner, take a shower, get ready for bed, and then I think even though the timer ran out, we're gonna finish up what's left of this book together because I just have to tell you my final thoughts. Like, it took a turn that I was actually not expecting, which makes me very happy because a couple clips ago I said I could like see what direction it was going in. It's not at all. So let me go eat and take a shower so we can finish this. Okay, as you can see, I literally had to sleep on this book. Like, I just woke up and I've been marinating on how I feel, what my rating is, my overall thoughts. So I will say that I rate this book 4 stars, which is much higher than the other book I read by Alice Feeney. So I will say that she is back in my good graces. Like, I would pick up another Alice Feeney book, and I would read another one. I think I said this earlier on in the video, but this book wasn't thrilling in the way that where it's like you're hanging on to the edge of your seat and it's like spooky vibes a little bit. This was more, well, it literally is a psychological thriller, so you're kind of just trying to like put the pieces together. There are a couple of really messed up things that go on in this book, so I would suggest looking at the trigger warnings if that's something that you normally need, because there were some things I was very shocked by and I was like, oh, is that what's happening right now? And it was kind of disturbing at some parts, but overall it was a pretty solid read. I couldn't decipher though, because again, it's a thriller, so I cannot say a lot, but I couldn't decipher the ending. I still, even after sitting on it, I can't figure out how I feel about the ending. A lot of people making really great points about this book, that it was a good book, but there was a little bit too much going on, and I will agree that there was a little bit too much going on, which is probably why I can't give it a 5 stars. But I feel like by the end of the book, as good as like the last 15 chapters were, I think the last 2 chapters kind of brought the rating down, because I was like fully ready to give this book like a 4.75, 5 stars, but the last 2 chapters I was just like, wait, I don't understand, and I'm kind of confused by it, and I feel like I'm gonna need like another week to like marinate on it. And honestly, I might read this book again this year, just to kind of figure out if the way I'm feeling is like the way I'm meant to feel. I don't know. Yeah, Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney, 4 stars for me. That was it. Thank you guys so much for joining me for swapping out my screen time for reading. It was very much needed. I was actually telling one of my friends this yesterday, but I just feel like so much better mentally after having basically a day filled with reading and not looking at my screen as much. Obviously, I still had to get on my phone yesterday because I work from my phone, so I filmed a little bit and I posted on my platforms, but I would say my screen time yesterday was probably only an hour, which is unheard of. A lot of times when I see girls doing this challenge, they'll be like, oh yeah, oh my god, my phone screen time last week was 4 hours a day. That's insane. And I'm like, I really wish I had that thought process around my screen time, because if I only had 4 hours a day of screen time, I would be so proud of myself. The fact that I have always over 10 doesn't matter, and it's been like 13, 14, 15 lately, is definitely something that I need to work on, because I am starting to see like a decline in my mental health because I spend so much time on the internet and posting and consuming, and I noticed that my mental health was the best when I was prioritizing reading, so I want to get back into it. Next, I'm going to be reading Fourth Wing, and I think I am going to vlog my entire experience reading Fourth Wing because I just think that that would be so fun. This is such like a cult favorite, like people absolutely love this freaking book, so I'm excited to jump into it. I really do want to get into fantasy. I just feel like I need to find the fantasy for me because the first ACOTAR book, I just think that it wasn't for me. And a lot of people say that with ACOTAR you have to give it a chance and the second book is the best, and then the whole series after that is just really good, and maybe that is the case. But the first book, I just like, it took me way too long to finish the first book, and then once I was done, I think I rated it like a 2.5 stars. I'm very like old school fantasy girly. Like I love Hunger Games, which I know that's more like dystopian, but I love Hunger Games. I love Twilight. I love Twilight. I'm actually in the middle of rereading the Twilight series. I just love Twilight. I think that it is so good. Obviously Harry Potter, which, fun fact, the last time I read the Harry Potter books, my mom actually read them to me as a kid. Like she would read them to us as like a good night story. So I don't know, maybe I will reread them as an adult. If I do though, it'll be like in the fall because I like the vibes of that a little bit more. But yeah, I definitely think the next reading vlog will be me reading Fourth Wing and my reaction and how I'm feeling about it, because she's a hefty girl. That was it. I will see you guys on Friday for a week in my life video. I have some fertility related things happening this week, so I will be sure to vlog those for you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I will see you later. Mwah! Bye guys.